Thank you for inviting me to speak at the 4th International Marketing Conference at ISB Mumbai. I'm sorry I cannot be there in person. I really like the title of this conference, which is Reimagining Marketing, Confluence of Creativity and Technology. In fact, I'm going to use the same title for my presentation because it really captures where marketing is likely to go, especially with the convergence and the fusion of creativity on the one hand and technology on the other hand. So let me first by just showing the fundamental shift this confluence of creativity and technology is going to create. Marketing is primarily craft, it's not creativity. It is more like how to. Just like a goldsmith knows how to bend gold, blacksmith knows how to do black, iron, for example. People who make, utensils, they know how to mold it. Automobile guys know how to make automobiles. Marketing is more a craft than creativity or art because it's replication. I found that very fascinating. So how can we make marketing more creative from craftsmanship? I also find that marketing, unlike many other functions in the business, is less automated. It is still what we call analog, low tech primarily, a lot of paperwork, a lot of personal communication. It is not as much automated from a process viewpoint, from a program viewpoint, or just daily activities of what we consider marketing. So marketing is going to shift with technology and creativity from a low-tech analog to a high-tech digital technology. Creativity without technology is inefficient, and technology without creativity is unimaginative. That's, I think, very important to figure out. Creativity and technology put together creates imagination. It imagines where marketing could be, should be, and therefore it's like a science fiction in many ways. It is a future that is not there yet, but one can imagine that future and spend dollars or promote products, communicate about them, positioning them, targeting them, etc. for the future. Now, what is driving this change? And among many factors, the four key factors are digital revolution. If there is one thing in India that has transformed the nation, it is what people call digital India. Nobody had imagined cell phones' presence, let alone the smartphones now, and of course now broadband or the internet 4G architecture on the wireless platform. It is so universal. Aadhaar, which is a biometric database, it crosses more than 1 billion people identity. This is the futuristic stuff. Even advanced countries don't have those kinds of databases or information about individual consumers or individual citizens in the marketplace. I think digital revolution is just making a difference, and the difference would be so great, looks like a tsunami of change in the marketplace. Second area, and I think equally important, is that we have a growing talent of graduates or people who would like to go in the creative world and of course in the high-tech digital world. I remember in my generation, 50, 60 years ago, only choice that I had, my parents would want me to be either an engineer or a medical doctor. Today, those kinds of normative restrictions by parents' desires are going away. Parents have become more liberal. More choices of programs are there. And therefore, individuals are saying, let me do specialization into areas that I'm passionate about. This is the key freedom US offers to students. So many choices. You can have a personalized curriculum. You can blend anything you want. And hence, this confluence of creativity, the soft side, the right side of the brain, and technology, the hard side, the left side of the brain, is all converging together. Buzzword, right word is fusion. Third, huge intense competition. Since the 1991 reforms, economic reforms, or what people call the India's second independence, the choices are mind-boggling. When I left India in 1961, we had no choices. In fact, whatever choice was out there, you had to wait for 7 years to get the product. Telephone, motorcycles, scooters. I'm talking about mundane products today, and today I can get it within 24 hours or instantly like a cell phone. I can open a bank account much easier. It was just nothing but a hardship and a hassle during license Raj. With liberalization and privatization, the economy has changed enormously, and which has obviously invited more competition, both domestic players competing with domestic players, new players coming domestically, but equally important, foreign competition intensifying in India. So think in appliances. In addition to the Indian manufacturers, now you have the LG industries and you have the Samsungs of the world, which are world-class marketers, world-class product lines coming to India. Think about Amazon coming to India. Think about Walmart coming to India. There are all kinds of industries where one can think about how competition will intensify because of more domestic competitors, but equally important, more global competitors targeting India, because India is the third largest consumer market. IMF, International Monetary Fund, is estimating in 2019 India will cross $11 trillion if you measure it on purchasing power parity. It is the third largest market after China, which is number one now, and America number two. And there's a forecast that India, the way the rate of growth is going, it might become even number two or number three, or number one, I'm sorry. So tomorrow's markets will be more shaped by technology and creativity and less by traditional 4Ps of marketing. I have always suspected marketing as we know today is in a midlife crisis. There's a discontinuity from the traditional knowledge of the branding, targeting, segmentation, 4Ps of marketing. In fact, today the best brands are created by Silicon Valley companies, not by FMCG people. Think about the brand name called Apple, or iPhone, or iPad, Google, Yahoo. No ad agency or a branding company in India coming from the FMCG sector would have ever thought one could create brands like that. And they spend money in a way that is almost beyond the capacity thinking of the typical FMCG sector. When Microsoft has a new software release on a global basis, they would spend 24/7 time, 7 days a week, promoting the product on a global basis, and the cost of promotion alone may be $400-500 million in 1 week, which no brand company can ever think about spending. That's mind-boggling. So marketing as we know today is what I believe is going to go through is actually in a midlife crisis. Which is why I thought that probably reimagining or imagining marketing in the future with the confluence of creativity and technology, we may need another framework to look at it. And that framework is what we call, my colleague Raj Sisodia and I call 4As of marketing. Ultimately, marketing is all about customer as the key stakeholder. So customer centricity becomes very key, and looking from the customer viewpoint is going to be almost a necessity going forward. And therefore, one can look upon 4As of marketing, which is acceptability, affordability, accessibility, and awareness. I have used this framework in many of my classes. I teach a course using 4 A's of marketing. They do projects around that one. It's just absolutely interesting, and people love the book. So, how to transform marketing with this confluence or convergence or fusion of creativity and technology? The first point is that focus on customer experience. Marketing has always focused on the buyer. To me, that's a focus of the sales organization, not the marketing organization. Marketing should be focused on the user, and therefore, customer experience is more important. Experience could be searching the information, procurement, but most importantly, consumption, after sales experience. We see that more and more important in online ratings, where people go to a restaurant, they buy a product, they experience the product, and then they write their evaluations or their views on online ratings or whatever they do. So that's very important that one focuses on customer experience and not on products and services themselves or product features. Second one, co-design products with creative labs, not R&D labs. R&D labs are typically driven by engineering, and engineering sciences are not the same as creative sciences. It's not NID, which is so different from, let's say, IIT in India. So creative mindset, which really comes from fine arts in many ways, or arts in general. There are laboratories after laboratories who can be more valuable in designing the products, which will be more emotionally appealing to people, not just functionally reliable and performance being flawless. You need both. That's very key. So acceptability comes from not only functional performance, but psychological acceptance at the same time. So co-designing the products with creative labs is more important than just with the engineering. Engineering is more compliance, more safety, more quality. This adds that additional dimension. And therefore, the chief design officer today is a more important position than the chief engineer in many of the companies. Third, mandate digital literacy. There is no way out. Marketing professionals are still in the what we call the horses and buggy days. They are not into the current reality or the future. 40% of all the IT services money spent today will be with the chief marketing officer, and most of them have no digital literacy. It is no longer the back office automation or the enterprise automation. It is really the customer centric, customer facing automation. It is a very important aspect, and therefore, my recommendation is that mandating marketing literacy by certification. So, certification similar to ISO, similar to level 5 certification by Carnegie Mellon University for software development, or Six Sigma. I think those kinds of, we need a digital literacy certification. Not just a nice thing to do, but it's a necessity, just like we demand a degree of some sort. This is very important. Increase affordability and accessibility, which is the third and the fourth A in 4 A's of marketing. But I've intentionally used the word extreme affordability and accessibility. And these are where the price points are so you couldn't even imagine them. I can do surgery for $100 when the role will pay $10,000. As we have seen, Devi Shetty, for example, in South India, is actually doing that. And his goal is to come out even 5-10 times cheaper than what he's able to do. Is the cheapest surgery of the best quality in the world. America became a dominant nation last century, 100 years ago, because it was a pioneer in affordability. Products that were not affordable, almost luxury, such as watches, for example, by Timex, they made it more a disposable watch. Kodak camera did the same thing with cameras. Model T automobile was the same thing, where Henry Ford had the view that my own employees should be able to afford an automobile as opposed to wealthy people. I think that's a very key message. But I'm using the word extreme affordability, where affordability is such that you couldn't have imagined. The only place where you can see extreme affordability technically are all of the social media platforms because they are free. Think about WhatsApp, Facebook, Google, Instagram. Affordability is very much there because I don't have to pay anything. And they're very useful in my daily routines in my lifestyle. Rural markets are untapped yet in India. They're waking up. The gap between rural urban digital divide is much less today than ever before. Healthcare is a major beneficiary in terms of affordability and accessibility. Fortunately, many experiments are going on in India. I like India's experimental mindset. We can do frugal innovation, we can do jugaad, we can do anything. It's really a grassroots way of coming up, all ideas. Some fail, some succeed. And it's mind boggling to see the scale and the size of entrepreneurship in India, not just on IT area primarily, or fintech or something like that, but in terms of ordinary products and services. We can imagine and we can do things. So I think that's very important. Next one is the latest research I'm doing. I find marketing has so much of friction, especially in the distribution system. While the rest of the world has gone to zero-step distribution to one-step distribution, no more than two steps from the producer to the consumer, in India it is still 7 times 8 steps in the distribution. At each step there is a friction. Somebody is holding the inventory, somebody is holding the payment, for example, physical deliveries are there, and therefore in the process there's a lot more inefficiency, but just it's not easy to do business. That's the whole point. And therefore, how do you reduce the friction? My view is that the success of Uber in ride sharing is just reducing the friction. In one button, I can do everything. I don't have to haggle with the taxi driver. I don't have to wait for them. I know when the car is coming, how the car is driven, who is the driver. I get a receipt at the end. So anywhere in the world, I don't have to worry about foreign exchange problems or get the cash from the ATM machines or whatever it is. In fact, Uber is so easy to do business with that it's becoming addictive almost. How do we Uberize marketing function? It's a very key area. So it comes in distribution channels, it comes in supply chain, it comes in customer support. Post-purchase activities, this one says we have so much of friction in running around, paperwork, whatever it is. How can we reduce all that? That would be a very key aspect, which again, creativity and technology will enable us to do that thing. Next area is something again I've been experimenting, dabbling, working. I got curious. Can we imagine virtual worlds? This is like a science fiction. There are 2 communities like that, Second Life and Farmville. People live in those communities virtually after their work. Like people go into pinball machines in the old days, or people go into playing games on the video games using the console, for example. This is living in those communities. They do everything. So here is a busy executive. She comes home rushing to make sure she gets on her laptop and goes to Farmville, where she's a citizen or a member, and milks her cow before sunset. The attachment is incredible. I would say we don't have to think about that futuristic, but today, think about the creativity with technology that happens in video games. Video games are fantastic if you take the violence out, for example, but they're exciting. And have you seen release of video games today? Opening release in one weekend would be $500 million of revenue. No movie theater can generate that, even for the blockbuster movies. This world is fascinating. And today, people are taking their own avatar, digital avatars. They want to have another virtual identity. They would like to experiment with that virtual identity, be in an imaginative world of what's possible. That's imagination by the consumer customers, but the marketers are not as imaginative. How can we become more imaginative to match the imagination desire, if not a need almost, by people or consumers? I think very interestingly, we have never realized the new nation that is already created, which is bigger than China or India in population. I call it the Facebook nation. 2.3 billion people residing in that community. They exchange information. There's a word of mouth. There could be a marketplace, just like we have a marketplace at Flipkart or a marketplace at Amazon. Anybody can, or Alibaba. Alibaba is fantastic. But anyway, I can have now billions of people offering their services and products to each other. Facebook is a nation. And how do you imagine how marketers will play their marketing activities in that nation? Point number 7, I'm again very passionate about. I think we have to make consumption meaningful. How does it serve the society? So as a consumer, I don't have guilt feelings, but I feel good about my consumption. Because through consumption, I'm becoming relevant to the society. Through consumption, I'm becoming useful to the society, contributing to the society, and that is toward the triple bottom line or the new millennium goals by United Nations, not only profit goal, which is the company, but people and planet goals. I think marketers have to add purpose, therefore, in their products and brands. More so at the product level than even the brand level is my view. So mindful consumption, what can marketers do to educate people to be aware of what they consume, how much they consume, where they consume, or how to reduce the waste, the 3 R's as we call it: reduce, reuse, and recycle. I think all of that is possible. CSR is a major initiative in India because of the law. 2% of net income by even mid-sized companies have to pay. It is generating, my estimate is about $5 billion of commitment towards CSR activities. How can marketing now leverage the CSR activity as a part of marketing function? Marketing always had external affairs, but this is more than that. So to me, marketing and CSR should converge or come together, and that will be another way to add purpose behind everything we market. And as I said, how can we make consumption as a positive societal force? So let me summarize my presentation. Marketing as we know today will be transformed by the confluence or the convergence or the fusion of creativity and technology. Digital revolution, growing talent in creativity and technology, intense competition, and marketing's midlife crisis are the key drivers for transformational marketing. Marketing will shift the focus from the buyer to the user. Buyer will be the focus of the salespeople, user will be the focus of the marketing people. To me, that is transformational. Focusing on customer experience, co-designing products with creative labs, delivering extreme affordability and accessibility will be key toward the future of marketing, reducing marketing friction, embedding purpose in products and brands, as well as investing in the digital virtual world. I'm thinking about more than AI, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, blockchain. This is one step way above, is what I'm thinking about in terms of this virtual communities that any corporation can create, any marketer can create. Finally, it is critical to ensure digital literacy in the marketing function through mandated certification. I think this is where large corporations can influence academic institutions to say a marketing graduate must have not only a major in marketing but major in digital technology certification, a minor, whatever it is, but some sort of a certificate should be done. And fortunately, today, through Coursera, edX, we have so many courses out there. So it is very affordable solution to make a person digitally literate before they join the corporation. I hope you have enjoyed my presentation. Again, I'm so sorry I cannot be there in person. Thank you.